After winning against JKS, he now has to deal with a Protoss player. The AZUBU Zerg starting to the top left of Kiln Flats. Yes.
AZUBU Violet.
His ID very much in line with our Heart of the Swarm theme here at the GSTL. Even matches our Blazers. And his opponent to the bottom right, the Protoss player, the wildcard Protoss, I like to call him for FXO. He is
FXO Tier.
Tier is a player who is often used as a sniper with really interesting builders, but if he plays a straight-up game, he's actually quite good at that as well. You never really know what to expect.
With Tier, we had actually a really decent run for him in the IPL qualifier. He got second. He lost to Alicia in the finals. So he really has the experience that he needs in Heart of the Swarm to do something here. And Violet knows this, of course. We have for Violet an opening with a pool first, which is pretty standard still. This is, of course, also what you did in Wings of Liberty, but you also have to use this in Heart of the Swarm. Usually try to get your gases up a little bit faster because there are so many different timings for a Protoss player to be aggressive these days.
There's a lot of different timings. I'm glad you mentioned that. We saw Killer try to do a gateway expand with Stargate in his match in his previous GSTL. He was shut down by Stormhost. That map was a little bit weird though. It was on Howling Peaks where you have that backdoor entrance to the base. So there was a while in the beta where a lot of pros were messing around with gateway builds and Stargate expands again, but that's kind of faded away for the most part. In my experience watching pros at high level player PvZ, most people are still force fast expanding in the matchup.
It kind of makes sense. I mean, you have so many different builds that you can go for, but this is also something that you're used to, you know? So when you look at these builds, that's kind of the go-to build, whatever you do. I feel we will have a lot of different timings in the future, but for now, if we want to still experiment with a lot of the other things and unit compositions that you can go for, it makes a lot of sense to keep it stable at first.
Yeah. And you know, there's always different transitions you can make with a Forge Fast Expand. It's your bread and butter Protoss versus Zerg build. Once you get those two gases going, your Cybernetics core is done, the sky is the limit. You basically can do anything.
And, well, we talked a little bit about Tia and his experience in Heart of the Swarm with getting second at the IPL qualifier, but one of the things that I definitely have to point out while we mention this is it doesn't really affect his play against Zerg. He was playing only against Protoss. He did not play a single match against another race. And if you just look down the opponents that he beat, he actually won against Ruin, that we just saw with a 2-1. Ruin was one of the few players who was able to take a map off Tier. Then he also was defeating Genius, which is really cool, so I would have loved to see FXO just save up Tier to have him meet Genius again in this match. It's not going to happen, but him being this good in this matchup just shows in general he has been practicing Heart of the Swarm a lot.
And listen, if you have that many wins in PvP with how crazy that matchup is right now, then you're definitely doing something right.
Yeah, PvP is insane in Heart of the Swarm.
I was really liking it at first, but to be honest, I've since turned back on that. One thing, by the way, I really like as a spectator in Heart of the Swarm is the ability to see the worker counts on the Nexi instantly at a glance. So I can tell you guys 100% with certainty that in the main base of Tier, he has 16 workers mining, which is as good as saturation gets when it's just continuously going up. Obviously, you can go up to 24 without losing anything, but after 16, it goes down a little bit. But that just shows that he's managing his resources really, really well, and we can see that physically here.
You get the best saturation if you have 2 harvesters mining from 1 mineral patch. This is the best saturation in terms of what you get per harvester. If you go up to 24, in total you will get more, but if you have the choice between spreading the additional 8 harvesters, let them mine from another base or at the same base, then it's always better to shift the harvesters down to your natural. So that is really important.
Yeah, after 16 there's a slight decay in the benefit that you get, but I like this little move out with the Mothership Core here. He's going to get some scouting.
It's the same thing basically when we come back to the mining. When you look at an extractor, if you have 2 harvesters mining from an extractor, you still get roughly 80% of the gas income that you get from 3. So this is why we see so many Protoss players, especially in Wings of Liberty, starting with 2 extractors and 2 drones in each. 2 probes.
This is a Queen assassination mission. He could actually use Time Warp to slow it. Will he do it? Queen's already slow enough off creep. I think he's thinking about it. And you know what? That Queen may very well escape here. This is going to be pretty close. But he's losing mining. And look at this double Stargate. Yeah. It's like I'm watching Guinea Pig play. He uses Time Warp to slow the mining here. That's pretty cute.
Yeah, that is something that we've seen occasionally already. So the Time Warp here for 30 seconds, making sure that the income is just not as good as it could be. Taking down the economy a little bit in the early game, and this is because Tia's trying to hit a timing here. He's going for the double Stargate opening. Could do a lot of damage. And the cool thing is, I was talking with Grubby a little bit about these things. One of the oddities that you could see in Heart of the Swarm when the pros were switching over is that everyone was banking so much gas and so many minerals. And one of the things that Grubby said is, actually as a Protoss player, it makes a lot of sense. You were used to getting those gateways out and to just get one structure of your tech buildings. Get one Stargate, get one Robo. So that's basically it. Maybe in the late game we've got double Robo at some points in some matchups. But right now, Protoss players have to often rethink how they approach a match, how they approach a matchup. So we see 2 Stargates early on. We see 4 or 5 later on in the game because the production and the utility of those structures is just so much better.
Exactly. You have, as a Protoss player, much less need for sentries against Zerg early on. Obviously, the hallucination upgrade, which we see in use right now, is very useful with sentries. But other than 1 or 2 with the Mothership Core to help you defend, you don't need any more than that. So you have a lot of extra gas up your sleeve. And we have Phoenixes hidden right now. He does see the hallucinated Phoenix, but now he's going to see some real ones as soon as they move across the map.
2 of the builds that are really common against against Protoss on ladder is Mutalisks. They are really, really strong against Protoss. I am pretty sure that you will have already shed a tear too.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit annoying.
And Swarm Host timings. So both of them are really great. And with the double Stargate, one of the things that we won't see Violet do is go into into Mutalisks. But he has those Hydras out now, and they will help. But if you have a lot of Phoenixes, you can also battle Hydra lists.
Yeah, he can actually fight these right here. There's not enough. And with the increased Phoenix range in Heart of the Swarm, you can actually fight these quite well. Picks up the Queen, and this is a great trade. In fact, the Hydras are never going to be enough if they keep coming out this slowly.
Exactly.
They look so funny in the air, by the way.
He needs to get a lot of Hydra lists out now, and look at all those Overlords being exposed now. He can take down a lot of units here. We have 7 Phoenixes, 2 Hydra lists. He needs to get more out, but he wants to make sure that the production of Violet is crippled. The circling run by is great though, and forces the cancel at the third.
Yeah, nice cancel timing though. He does not lose it. You know, you're so right though. The Hydralists, he wants to get them out. He has to do something about this. He can't just not respond, even though the Phoenixes are killing the Hydras. Phoenix is a little bit low on energy, but the Phoenix count is still pretty high. It's 7 to 12 right now. He won't be able to kill any more Hydras, except unless he finds lone ones like this. 2 Hydras out in the middle of the way, maybe just having a private chat.
This is actually becoming a big problem for Violet. The thing is, if you go into Hydralists and you're up against the player who starts with Phoenixes, if you build up this crucial amount of Hydras, you can walk across the map. You know exactly that your opponent is investing a lot of his gas into the air tech, so he can't go into additional Colossi in time to deal with this. But if you start with taking down Hydralists early on, it becomes so much more difficult for the Zerg player to build up this critical Hydra count, and his push will be so much later and so much delayed. And this is why Violet at this point, he can't even move out. And look at the production tab. Here comes the robotic space. So if he moves out with the timing, that's not going to work anymore.
Yeah. And with the double Stargate, he has the utility to switch now into Fleet Beacon Tech and get Tempests. The Tempests are going to allow him to control the middle of the map and start to poke. This is a great map for Tempest when your opponent does not go Mutas. And you've already forced your opponent out of Mutas by going double Stargate Phoenix. No one's ever going to go Mutas against this. Now he can even go to where the 4th base is and sit in that little backdoor area where these Phoenixes are right now. If he goes there with the Tempest, there's no way he can kill those without Corruptors or Mutas. So he can start picking away at the drones, Hydras, anything that comes nearby.
Tyr is playing a great game here. He is really playing a very strong game. And if it comes down to this matchup, in the late game, a lot of Protoss players actually say that when they are able to get up their best army, it's unbeatable. Zerg can't take this down, and this is exactly what Tyr is currently aiming for. We have him with the first Tempest already in the picture. He's now going into Carriers. We have Warp Prism Speed, and he is not pressured, not at all. He controls the pace of the game, he controls the map, he is calling the shots here, and
he's
at
the
home,
puppeteer, man.
He's just macroing things up, so this is actually exactly how he envisioned this game to go.
He even controls the watchtowers on the edge with his Phoenixes picking off Lings. They come in here and get a scout. Right now, this is going to kill some drones, which is cool and all, but more so it's important for him to see, are you switching into roaches by any chance? Are you making infestors? I need to know about that. Are you maybe making some corruptors just yet? Not yet. Okay, I lost some Phoenixes here, but I got really good information. I'm going to kill some more drones.
And now we have something that I really like. We have now on Hive Tech Vipers being built. Vipers get a lot more utility when they are combined with Hydralisks.
Yes.
And on the map there are 18 Hydralisks. You would like to have a few more, but this is also something that is going to really work well now for Violet. What he wants to do is get all those expensive units in the composition of the Protoss and just abduct them, get them in here. So if we see this, Tempests are going to be one of the main targets for him.
We could see some time warps go down on these Hydras. He uses the force field to try to trap initially, but once he sees how many Hydras are actually behind that, he pulls back. That's why these cannons are so useful. He knows he's a little bit vulnerable while he's building that air composition, because this air composition is great once it reaches its fullest potential. But right now, those lone Tempests are not really fighters just yet.
Yeah, the Tempests, they deal the damage and they definitely push Violet back, but you have to be very, very careful. You're not at this point yet where you can take out any Zerg army. And Violet is now moving in, and these additional Vipers, they add a lot more damage to, well, not really damage, but it's a lot more dangerous to approach this army, and this is something that Tyr is going to find out.
He's going to go yank these Tempests. 3 of them ejected instantly. And boom, 2 of them already almost dead.
And you stay here, buddy. No way that you're gonna escape. One of them down, the other 2 survive. Here come the force fields, and immediately the Tempest from the safe range are doing the damage. The Mothership Core is not being used. We don't see a time where we don't see anything.
Yeah, no Photon Overcharge, and this is starting to look really bad for Tyr. He cannot afford to lose units like this on 3 bases while his opponent is on 4. Meanwhile, though, he's using his Warp Prism speed, warping him some Zealots over here in the north.
Great game. I really like what we're seeing.
This is awesome. 23 Hydras in production.
Yeah, 23 Hydras. He knows that he needs more, and they are working so well with the Vipers. We just saw that with his push, but Tyr, he still holds and he goes for the counter-aggression. But now it's Violet's time to shine. He was pressured in the early game. He lost Overlords, he lost Hydras, he lost Queens, he drones, everything. But now he is going forward. He's moving in. He has the creep carpet to the bottom right. He's using all those Hydralisks with the speed upgrade, trying to get into position to use the Vipers to get all those Tempests into the close fight.
He needs to get some feedbacks off on these Vipers. This is going to be an interesting battle. The cannons are not ready yet. He gets 1 feedback off. The other one is targeted. It gets away. The carrier here adding some interesting DPS. The Stalker's on the low ground. Needs to get feedback. So far, so good. But the Hydras are already here without an abduct. They can already just fight against these Tempests.
There's nothing on the ground. We still don't see a time warp. And now we have suddenly all those Hydralisks on the ramp trying to bust their way through. Violet doing a good job here. At first, Tyr with those feedbacks doing a really good job against all those Vipers. But now he's in trouble and he's losing a lot. Even with the added damage of the cannons, he's just losing too much.
Yeah, even the Templar getting targeted down a second. Cannon goes down. You can see the Nexi are actually participating in these fights really nicely here, zoning out those Stalkers, and he will actually survive. And with not as big of a supply deficit as I thought we'd see, he's only down 50 supply here, and the Nexi continue to fight.
Especially there was not a lot of damage to the economy, Wolf. They are trading armies here, but it's not like one of them is crippled when it comes down to the income. Now we have Storm nearly completed. Once again, Violet trying to move in, but here come the Storms.
The Hydras dodge with their muscular augmentation. That sounds really weird to say. The Hydra's coming in now, trying to chase on the Stalkers. There's a Colossus on the field. This is actually a really close fight. He's holding on. The gateways are going down, though. He's losing a lot of production. He's warping into the line of fire. That's always a desperation move.
I really like how Tyr is approaching this now. Now he has double area effect damage against the Hydras, but there are just so many of them.
You know, he needs to hold on a little bit longer, but I'm not so sure he can do it.
I loved how he got those Templars in there to get the feedbacks off, and this really helped him a lot, but he didn't have enough on the ground anymore, and now he lost his space.
Yeah.
This is horrible for Tyr. He's really trying to pull through force fields again, but the key for this entire defense for him is the warp into the top left.
Yeah.
The warp prism trying to do the counter damage.
The warp prism is actually able to do so much damage he nearly gets the hatchery here, but there's a new 5th base down at the 8 o'clock position on the map, and these Hydras are starting to kill everything here. Every single unit he warps in. GG.
GG by Tyr. Violet with a 2nd win. But I have to say, like, Tyr played this so well, especially the opening. I love this.
If he had a little bit more time, he would have had that deadly composition.
Exactly. It was just such a close window. He lost a little bit too much with the early engagements. If those High Templars are out a little bit earlier and he goes for those feedbacks at the Vipers first, then I don't think Violet can break through here. But it was just so awesome to see this. This was rock, paper, scissors the entire game.
Yeah. By the way, I think part of the turning point in this game is when he lost so many of those Phoenixes going for that scout. He lost like 5 out of his 7 Phoenixes, and if he had those Phoenixes, I think he might have been able to hold by lifting up some of those Roaches and Hydras. Obviously, Phoenixes aren't the most useful defensive unit against Hydras, but that would have helped. He also, like you said, did not use the time warp as he could have against the attack. I think that would have helped him out quite a bit as well.
This is one of the things that I really didn't understand with this defense. The Mothership Core was sitting there with full energy, and all those units that the Zerg player controlled were in this narrow space. You could have really utilized the Mothership Core ability. So I don't know, I feel he could have defended a little bit better. It was definitely a close battle. Violet is coming out the victor, but Sia played very well.
Yeah, it was actually extremely cool to just see. You know, a lot of people are talking about this late game composition, how strong it is, but it just goes to show that if you put on a lot of Hydra aggression, you can stop this, you can shut this down, even after taking early losses to Phoenixes that you didn't scout. Hydras are mobile. They are virtually harassment units now. I mean, it's heavy aggression. It's not like pick off probes of them harassment units, but he's like, watch out or I'll kill your Nexus with 24 Hydras on the production
But you know,
tab.
we had exactly this game development that we talked about. If you go into Hydralist and see your opponent, okay, you're going for a lot of air units, then you will have your air effect spells a little bit later. Storm will be late, we have the Colossus a bit later, so I can actually put on aggression with my Hydralist and go in right now. And then we had this unfortunate misuse of the Mothership where he could have used the time warp to hold a little bit longer. The thing is, JKS, sorry, not JKS, but here in the beginning, I was so well done picking off those Hydralists. He looked at it, he's like, hey, you don't have enough Hydralists to beat my Phoenixes. If I take those guys out now, then you will lose a lot of time where you build up your Hydra count. In the end, Violet was just able to get them down to the bottom right in time, but this was a really close
It was scary.
game.
There was a window, you know? That was his window. He jumped through, like, as it was closing. He was, like, doing the sliding technique, and the thing just barely closed. He's like, got it! All right, GG.
Yeah, but...
FXO is now a tight spot, though. They've only got 2 more players.
Exactly, they have 2 more players. We have AZUBU being up 1 game, and for FXO now, Lenok probably going to play. He said already in the interview that we had before the match that he practiced a lot, especially against Protoss.
Is it Gumiho now?
It's going to be him.
Or maybe Lucky. I could see Lucky coming out here.
Look to the top left.
Ooh, the best.
Oh, yeah.
The best FOU. This is old ID. That's what people know him as, even though the team has switched to FXOpen.
The general.
This guy is a villain. What kind of sneaky all-ins does he have planned?
You know who he is?
Who is he?
He's actually... Let me get another look at him. We're going to wait until... Yeah, he's the Korean Cloud.
I see that.
He's definitely the Korean Cloud.
Oh my god.
We found Cloud's lost brother.
This is actually crazy.
He's also playing Terran.
I wonder how angry he looks when he streams.
Oh, okay, to be fair, Cloud now just switched faces and is playing Protoss.
I did not know that, actually. That's really interesting news.
Oh, it's funny. He's dissing all the Protoss players in Wings of Liberty on his Twitter, and he's like, if I would have known that Protoss is so easy when I was playing Wings of Liberty, I actually have no respect for you guys anymore. And everyone is like, what?
Well, that's really weird to say, Cloud. I don't know.
I think he was bantering when he said it. But yeah, Rest is definitely the Korean Cloud. Oh my god. We need like a picture, both of them next to each other. But what we also need is a 5-minute break because we need to get ourselves a few drinks. So guys, we are back in 5 with our next match. See you in a few.